Welcome back to the channel. It's Football Focus. Today we're going to talk about Team USA, Copa America. Let's just say it was a tough one to watch. Let's break down the highs and lows of what went on and what we can expect for the future. If you're a US soccer fan, it's not easy, is it? Yeah, I've been a soccer supporter for a long time, football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, but this is Football Focus. So we're going to talk about football and Copa America. The Euros are going on right now. If you are not aware or you live in a box or something like that. Team USA, they kicked off Copa America pretty strong. Bolivia expected to beat that opponent. Yeah, sure. But 2-0 victory and, we're on our way. So you'd think. In the next match, Team USA would face Panama. I mean, have you seen how small Panama is? All this time we've been using Panama. They finally got their revenge. Despite the early goal from Ricardo Pepi, the game unfortunately turned when Timothy Weah did this. I get it, frustrated. He probably called you, who knows what he called you, who knows what was said. But come on, man, you're a black man. You know what I mean? They're looking for it. They're looking for the aggressiveness. So he gave them what they wanted, and those who have played soccer, you know how it gets on the field. You know how sometimes you got those types of players who just try to get in your head. They're talking crap the whole game. And the moment that you take a strike or the moment that you act like you're going to hit them, they're going to take the dive just to get you the card. That's exactly what happened. Though in this case, he did smack him pretty hard, or it looked pretty aggressive. So fair red. I'm not here to complain about it, which that red card was actually in the beginning of the game. So it did not help. We played about 70 minutes, a man down. Sure, it was a team we were supposed to beat, but and again, it's U.S. men's soccer. Panama finally got back for all those times we've been using their port and probably not paying them enough. And yeah, they got that victory. 2-1. We lost.
You suck.
Which sucks because knowing that we lost, we had to beat a team that we never really beat. Maybe it got into their heads. Who knows? But yeah, because now in the standings, we had to beat Uruguay to have a chance to even advance. So, which Uruguay, I don't know if you've known, but in the past, we haven't done so well. So, I'll be honest, I didn't even watch the third game, had the expectation in my head. Not that I don't have the belief, I really had to work, but that's, besides the point. But we lost. It was a hard-fought match, but we lost. Uruguay ends up getting a goal late in the game and pretty much sealed our fate after that loss. So let's talk about the team performance. It's tough to watch. On one end, you can say it's the players. On the other end, you can say it's the coach. Obviously, it's a team sport, so it's got to be both. I do feel that we do come across as a cocky team when it's teams that we're expected to beat and typically beat. Therefore, I don't feel like we start off with the right intensity and kind of are assuming that we're just going to get the win throughout the game. When it's teams where we're the underdog, you do see the intensity there. You do see players flying around, and it seems like we're involved in the game, but there's never really that moment of skill that just gets the job done. I'm sure pressure is one of those things that kicks in as well, though a lot of the players that we do have, they are playing at a pretty high level across the board, at least for the men's US team. Maybe not on the best teams and maybe not starting all the time, but we do have some solid players in some solid positions. So it's tough to see us not execute. And it is a bit of both. But there was this heated debate I watched, and I kind of wanted to touch on some points from it.
I would take two primary exceptions with the article. And I know Ryan O'Hanlon well. I know he doesn't always write his titles, but I'll start with the title. The U.S. isn't as good as it thinks. Who? The entirety of the country? Look, this is written in the aftermath of a group stage exit. So basically what you're saying is the U.S. isn't as good as it thinks, and it thinks it was good enough to get out of this group stage. Do I need to remind people who was in this group? It was Panama and Bolivia. Nobody was saying the U.S. was going to beat Uruguay and win this group. They had to finish second.
I agree 100%. No one expected us to beat Uruguay or finish above them. We definitely were supposed to beat Bolivia in Panama.
There is not one player in the Bolivian pool or the Panamanian pool that would get into the U.S. 11 or even the U.S. 23. And if there is, I would like either Ryan O'Hanlon or somebody on the desk there to point that player out to me, and then we can have that debate.
Facts. Facts. 100% facts. None of those Panama players, none of those Bolivian players would have a chance in the U.S. men's team or the team some of these U.S. men's players play on.
The U.S. was absolutely good enough to get through the group phase here. So I take exception with the title. I also take exception with the premise. None of the U.S. young talents have hit what Ryan says is best case scenario. What is best case scenario? And why are we judging guys who are midway through their career? Christian Pulisic is the oldest of this bunch. He's 25 years old. Is that when we're writing guys off now? And by the way, Christian Pulisic has won a Champions League. That's not good enough for Ryan O'Hanlon. That's not good enough to beat Panama and Bolivia. And of the other players that he chose that hadn't lived up to the hype, he also left out the guy you're seeing at left back there, Anthony Robinson, who, by the way, has blossomed into one of the best left backs in the Premier League. So
yeah, he's spot on both those points as well. Anthony Robinson's one of my favorite players to watch currently as far as defending. Like, sure, some of that technique needs to be refined, and sure, the touch can be a little aggressive sometimes, but he's a very good defender, and that sometimes is what's most important in defense.
Very selective. If you want to know why, if you really want to understand why the U.S. is underwhelming, you got to do an honest analysis of the minutes played at club level. And what you will see of this 11 that you're looking at right now for Uruguay is that there are only 4 guys in this 11 that are locked down, locked in every week starters for their club teams. That means the majority of the guys are not. And so when you have a team full of role players, I think that shows in the big moments. And it's that and the combination of the national team manager, Greg Berhalter, and his shortcomings, which is why the U.S. is going home.
Yeah, most of those players, like I said, they play at a high level, but maybe not on the best teams, right? Christian Pulisic played for Chelsea, did well here and there, but was never really a consistent player, which doesn't mean that he is not a good enough player. It just means that sometimes you have to get your consistency. You have to get your legs in. You have to be game ready. And sometimes playing at a consistent basis is much better than playing on a better team and not ever playing, especially when you do go to these tournaments and you are playing with players who do play regularly for their team, wherever that may be. But when it gets into those tight spots in the game where you expect certain moments in the game, you don't have time to think. It's already here in your head what you're doing when you have the ball. Like you receive the ball, in the moment that happens, you know exactly what's next. And sometimes that only comes with playing consistently day after day, at least playing games on a consistent basis.
At the group stage, not because they weren't good enough to get past Panama and Bolivia, and not because they're not as good as we think, because we don't think they're better than Uruguay. We think they're better than Panama and Bolivia, and that's obvious.
Is the expectation, though, when you look at the article, obviously the names that some of them that Sebi's brought up there, is that when you looked at them a few years ago, you were looking at the promise that these names delivered and thinking that maybe they would be doing more than they are for their domestic sides right now. This is what Ryan's trying to make a point in some of his article, and it hasn't happened.
You know, I think there's one thing to have potential, and there's a lot of players that have potential, but in order for that potential to become something, you have to do the reps and you have to do the minutes. And I think it's really important that too many of this United States side haven't got the minutes behind them. And so, yes, when it's an even playing field and you're playing Bolivia and Panama, then you expect to beat them. But what you don't expect to do is play against Panama in particular, a man down. And so the players on the field don't have the minutes behind them to cope with that. Regardless of whether you think Panama is any good or not, it just means that if Panama physically are at it, it is so tough when you're a man down. So there doesn't seem to be anybody in the middle here. You've got a group of people who, like Ryan is saying, who do they think they are? Do they think they're the next Brazil? But then you have the complete opposite of, listen, this is a young team that could be so good, and this young generation and this golden generation, and so there's no middle ground here. It's either catastrophe or it's fantastic for most people. Yeah, but when they should be looking at the real problem, and I don't believe that Berhalter is the problem.
And this is where I disagree with that. I don't believe that you should be hiring someone that you fired before who kind of made it a whole debacle, and it was very chaotic, that World Cup situation. So putting him back in there, I feel like the players don't really respect him. Of course, who am I? I don't really know, but just from looking from looking from the outside, that's what it might seem like, or at least that's what I would feel it would be like.
The reason they didn't qualify is because they were down a man after 18 minutes. And the fact is, because you only play the amount of games.
Stevie, there were
do in this
72
tournament.
minutes after the red
Yeah.
card for the 10 players on the field. Had they been more experienced to do what you're talking about and bail their teammate out, the manager could have done something in those 72 minutes. There's the 90 minutes against Uruguay where if this team was more experienced, maybe they can nick a result there. Maybe they don't give up a goal late in that game. Maybe they do get something. You don't have to be...
And here's the thing. I keep hearing everybody saying, well, he could have done something. Not just you. He could have... What did the manager
Stevie,
do?
he sat on
What's
his
the
hands
manager-
for 27 minutes in the first half. He
What
did
does the
nothing.
manager do
They
with 10
scored
men?
Stevie, they scored a goal to go up 1-0. He could have made defensive changes there. He sat...
There's a lot of instances where many coaches are dealing with players that are not that good, but the system that they put them in has allowed it to work smoothly. I mean, Ralph Ragnick with Austria, sure, they got eliminated, but no one expected them to go as far as they did. Or even, I mean, and yes, those players are better in most cases, especially at least at a technical level and analysis level as far as the way football is supposed to be played. But you can see it if you have a coach that knows what he's doing, knows what he has, they can make those players play better. Because at the end of all this, coach picks the team. And you're supposed to pick the most balanced team that will help each other out. And as a coach at the highest level, these are things that you're supposed to have. Easier said than done, but there's a reason you got to the level, or you would think so.
on his hands. What happened? Panama equalized. And then what happened? Panama grabbed control of the game, Stevie, and they never gave it up. And the indictment, the proof that Greg Berhalter missed is that he didn't make any subs. And what does he do at the half? Emergency, 3 subs, panic alarms.
Let me ask you a
That's the
question.
proof. He sat on his hands and he missed it. He got caught with his pants down. He didn't have a plan for a red card early in a tournament. And the other proof of that is he started Tyler Adams, knowing he was going to have to take him off.
You're blaming Berhalter, right?
Absolutely, I'm blaming Berhalter.
They had defenders in position.
And he threw Tim Weah under the bus. You can't just say, oh, one thing happened.
Do you want me to answer the question? They had defenders in position to defend. Full stop. The defenders were at fault. They didn't do their job. That's not Berhalter's fault. Listen, I'd be with you if there was holes all over the place. Absolutely, I would be with you, Seb. But there wasn't holes all over the place.
I think
they were 1-0 up. They were solid. Panama didn't look like scoring. They had people in position to defend, and they didn't do their job.
Yeah. I mean, sure, the game still has a lot to go, but once they've gone up 1-0, if you got that lucky break, back into defense. Not defend the whole game, but set up a structure where you have I don't know, 4-4-1. You know what I mean? 3-5-1. Set up something where you can consolidate this pressure, especially if you feel that the players that you have are better. Sure, physicality is going to step in and your players can get tired, but you do have 5 subs, and there should be some type of attention to detail when it comes to making the right changes and when to make them. And what do you guys think? Do you feel that he's the right coach for this job? I mean, in my opinion, no. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy in front of a green screen. Yeah, that's it for that. What do you guys think? Do you think it's the players? Do you think it's the coach? Of course, it is both. Do you feel that some of the players feel that or it seems like some of the players think that they're better than they are. But also, hey, coach has got to put these people in the right spots. He's got to know who's hot at the time, got to know who's in form at the time, and it all should mesh. There's 2 more years until the World Cup. I mean, man, if USA can do something in that World Cup, it'll really help America out, I truly feel, and it is the time because it's in America. So that's going to be it for the U.S. recap. As far as Copa America, of course, it's still going on. Am I watching? No, because I'm watching the Euros. But if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. I really appreciate you watching. Again, this is Football Focus. We talk about sports, analysis, you name it, we might try to explain it. All right, till next time. Later.
Let's talk to them. Fire break! Tell me your guys' thoughts. Tell me. Fire break!